We're going to talk about immigration in Canada, since we are going to talk about investments and people that have come to here. We are going to talk about the residence status in Canada, how to get it. If you choose this project, you can live in Toronto with no restrictions because you will be in the same province. Once again, thank you for the introduction and for the opportunity to participate in today's event. It's a great honor for me. Let me introduce myself.
Я лицензированный
I am
иммиграционный.
in Kogan. I'm a licensed immigration lawyer in Canada. I've been licensed since the year 2000, so I exclusively deal with the immigration law. In the past 20 years, I'm also teaching a course for younger immigration officers and specialists, experts. I have been invited. I've been repeatedly invited to the events like this one, and I'm co-authoring a new. So we're writing a new textbook for the uh, law students in Canada, in Canadian universities. We're going to talk about immigration in Canada, since we are going to talk about investments and people that have come to here. Useful information are the people that are interested in investing their capital in secure jurisdictions. But if you would have any other questions pertaining to the immigration to Canada, please address your questions to me in person, and I would always be happy to interact with you. In order to immigrate to Canada, in order to get the legal papers and documents, immigration process is split into two stages. You cannot immediately move over to Canada and become a citizen. A similar system is existing in the US, where you have to get a green card first. Whereas in Canada, you have to become a permanent resident first, and then some in some time down the road, you will get the Canadian passport. So we're going to talk about the so we are going to talk about the residence status in Canada and how to get it. The important things to know that differentiate Canada from other jurisdictions and other countries that allocate and issue documents allowing people to immigrate by investment. First of all, there is no option of passive investment in real estate advantage in Canada that would automatically entail getting the Canadian citizenship. So you cannot purchase a hotel, a building, or a house and just passively expect to be given the Canadian citizenship status. There is
Позиционирует себя как страна, которая
the Canadian process is a little bit more complicated. As a country, Canada doesn't need to sell its legal status for passive investments without any additional advantages. After you receive the status of the permanent resident, you should also know that in order for you to get the full-fledged Canadian citizenship, the full-fledged Canadian passport, you need to live in the country for some time. You need to physically be present in the country for 3 out of 4 years. You don't need to come and spend 3 years on end in the country. You can split that period of time in different segments. But if you do not plan to move to Canada and your goal is to get the Canadian passport, you need to think it well, because this may not happen as you think it will, because the passport will require for you to stay in the country. And despite the fact that we're going to talk about the program of getting the residence status in Canada requiring investments, this does not rule out the requirement for the applicants to know one of the two languages. Even if you move your capitals or assets to Canada, you need to know either English or French. and that requirement is embedded in the program. You will not be able to avoid it. So if you decided to enter to invest in Canada, start learning English. That will uh, necessarily help you to settle down in Canada much faster than if you move over to the country without knowing the language. Immigration via investment is possible by using one of the two programs. They are split into two major parts. Number one, passive investment, and number two, active investment. As for passive investment, an example passive investment program is for example, the startup visa. It's a federal program allowing people to settle down in any area of the country other than Quebec. Any other province of the country is open for you to settle down, for you to do your business in Canada. I would like to make a reservation right away by saying that this program does not envisage any further reporting after you have moved to the country. If your plans change and you change your mind in terms of not willing to do what you had planned to do, you will have nobody to report to. You will be granted the permanent resident status and you are free to do whatever you wish. You can go gain education, you can retire and enjoy your life, or you can indeed develop the business of your interest. In accordance with the startup visa program terms, you need to know either English or French. These are the two uh, languages, prerequisite languages. The English language proficiency is an IELTS score of 5.5 out of a maximum of 9 points in an intermediate level. That is a good school level of English, and you can just enroll with some English language courses, and you also need to have enough money to settle in Canada if you would like to participate in the passive investment program. It will entail certain expenses, of course, depending on the number of your family members that are going to accompany you. We're talking about the investment program. It's a business program that is reckoned upon, that is entailing the establishment of a startup. So you need to submit certain documents for the amount, depending on the number of family members, that would vary from 30,000 to 60,000 Canadian dollars. I think this is quite realistic amount compared to that of other countries. The essence of this, in essence, the business or the startup, the business proposal rather, or the startup project that you would like to move to Canada with should get one of the companies interested so as to support your business idea after you move to Canada. And they need to you need to send a letter based upon a list of incubators and investment companies or investment companies that have gone through certain audits and were licensed to support business projects or business ideas that would be very useful for Canada. These business ideas, for the most part, pertain to some sort of business innovative technologies, different types of doing business or modernization of some already existing processes. I've been working with this program for several years, and the range of business ideas was so different that it would I would have a difficult time um, citing some criteria for you here. I have an example for you. A woman uh, found an applicant. She had never worked in her life, and she invented a new recipe of a yogurt. When I heard of that, I said we have dozens of different types of yogurt in the Canadian department stores and supermarkets. Why do we need another yogurt recipe? But she said, no, it's going to be special. We have promoted her the yogurt recipe, and so nowadays this family, the lady's family, has been living in Canada for about 5 years. So even such ideas can serve as a ticket for the entire family's immigration to the country. The beauty of this program is that to make your business idea or a startup work, ultimately work, and implement it in real practice, it would not be enough to have a simple idea. This idea should be supported by experts, the advertisement specialists or experts, for example, the financiers, the lawyers, and people that are going to facilitate the production or packaging, and even IT experts, as as a fashionable trend nowadays, should also be supportive of this new idea. So what's the role played by these accredited entities that can choose who it is or which idea they will support? They unite, they get together teams of people that can ultimately implement these ideas in real life. Once again, I'd like to bring an example. If you have no idea of your own and you'd like to participate in the development of a startup in Canada to get the Canadian citizenship or passport, you can contact us and we will help you pick out some existing ideas which have already passed, which have already been endorsed or approved, and you will be able to then to contact one of the experts to introduce this idea in real life. So this program is not only for inventors, it's also for people that can also invest in your business idea to ensure the development of the concept that actually innovators come up with. So if you have financial opportunities and you want to immigrate to Canada, we can find an appealing or interesting project for you to develop, and you will after moving to Canada, you'll become another Elon Musk in Canada. As for this has to do with the passive investment activity. Before you get the status of permanent resident, you're entitled to work with the idea. The active investment programs are existing almost in every province. Every province is proposing or suggesting their own programs. They have different advantages and disadvantages, and they're slightly different in terms of the amounts of investments, the investment amounts required, but they are very similar to each other. Should we talk about the Brunswick province? The investment amount required is 250 thousand Canadian dollars. You have to invest this in your own business. This is an active investment program because you will have to do your own this business for some time after you will have invested your money, and then you will make sure that this investment brings you some returns. Another similar program of Nova Scotia business program requires an investment in your own business in the amount of 150,000 Canadian dollars. You are once again investing, and on top of that, you get the status of permanent resident in the country. Also, the 150,000 Canadian dollars worth of investment is required in the Prince Edward Island province. It's an island area. It's a little bit remote, but it's immensely beautiful. It's a resort place, and people living there are saying that lobsters are climbing up the rocky, uh, the rocky beaches there. So there are definite advantages. And also, Saskatchewan Entrepreneur Program also requires 300,000 Canadian dollars worth of investment, and the purpose of such active investment programs has to do with the establishment of new jobs. So the amount of investments and the amount of money you invest in your business, they determine the success of your program, whereas the success of your program is determining your participation, as the business should be
этой бизнес-деятельности, тем больше
as your business should be the living one. It should be developing, and the more jobs you create in the country, the more chances there are for you to stay in the country as a resident. Once again, our company is accompanying you, helping you out in selecting the type of business you might enjoy. And of course, these programs are only workable given upon these programs are contingent on your active participation. Of course, any program is requiring an individual approach, and we also have individual proposals that are suitable for only for those people that are aspiring to move over to Canada. I am often asked or contacted by Canadian businesses that have their own goals and objectives, and they would like to get additional support, financial support for these goals and objectives. So you can become the Canadian citizen and partner with an existing Canadian business that will bring you revenues. So you will retain your investments and have additional returns. I'm gonna tell you about the specific investment proposals on behalf of the Canadian businesses that we can discuss here. We have the shopping mall in Toronto. It's a finished existing project which already brings income investment from 3 million Canadian dollars. The immigration investment program. I did not mention the immigration investment, the immigration program by investment in Ontario because it implies absolutely different amounts of investments. Also, we have a specific investment proposal pertaining to the development of residential neighborhood. It's a little bit far from the large cities, and Toronto included. The project is supported. If you choose this project, you can live in Toronto with no restrictions because you will be in the same province. And this program requires investment from 1 million Canadian dollars and upwards. Also, we have an interesting IT project, investment project, which was ordered from Canadian government. There is no higher guarantee imaginable, and the investment required here is from 800,000 Canadian dollars and higher. So these are a few specific proposals for people that might get interested, as well as consider other options. I just provided you with specific information. Uh, get in touch with me with any sort of questions, not only relating to investments or the programs I told you about, but generally you can touch upon any immigration related issue. These are my contacts, and I also have offices in Ukraine, Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Iran. We can always provide our contacts right in those, right on the spot, right where you are. Thank you, Ina, for the beautiful presentation. We have a few questions to ask. Is there a law in Canada on controlled foreign companies? Well, I would probably switch onto English with great pleasure. Perhaps David might correct me. Okay, there is a specific difference. There's specific range of uh, well, lawyers in Canada have their specific specializations. I am only dealing with immigration services. I'm an immigration lawyer, so any issue pertaining to immigration can be addressed to me. As for anything else, I will readdress you to auditors, to lawyers in other areas of activities. So right away, I would like to readdress this question.
I'll be happy to take the question. So Canada does not have a restriction on foreigners owning real estate and or companies except in a very few strategic industries. So generally speaking, there is no restriction on foreigners investing in Canada. That's from an investment point of view. From a tax point of view, those who are investing in the United States and are familiar with something called controlled foreign corporations or subpart F of the US tax system, Canada does not have an equivalent. If you are involved in a business in Canada, there is from a corporate point of view, a requirement that you have a certain number of Canadian citizen residents who are on your board, but that is often handled by the lawyer and or accountant who set up the company, and you take away the power of that individual to really do anything by something called a unanimous shareholders agreement. So in short, no restriction on investing in Canada, and there isn't a tax control foreign corporation issue, and the issue of directorship residency is very easily handled by any lawyer or accountant who'd be setting up the company.
Seems like it's a good tool for some tax planning, isn't it?
Oh, yes. For those who are interested, when Meghan and Harry actually announced they were leaving the UK and first coming to Canada, I wrote a white paper, which people can find on the website, which is using Canada as a tax haven for tax planning possibilities. We don't want to get into royal squabbles right now, but if anybody's interested in that, they can certainly go to my webpage and or email me, and I'd be happy to direct it to them.
Yeah, I think the organizers will share all the full the details of the speakers, and we can find out more from the personal call or meeting with you, let's say in Zoom. Yeah, and thank you so much, Mr. David, to take the question. Инна, еще один вопрос к вам. В каких случаях могут отказать в получении гражданства Канады?
Here's one more question for you. In which cases can they deny or refuse the citizenship to somebody? Well, thank you for the question. We're talking about the acquisition of, we're not talking about acquisition of citizenship right away, but we're talking about the acquisition of permanent residence. And it can be refused if there's a problem with health status of the applicant. All the applicants can be refused if they have some problems with their criminal record. And most importantly, they can be refused for the provision of false information. So the Canadian government is requiring for applicants to enter an open dialogue with them to tell the truth and nothing else but the truth. This has to do with applying for the residence permanent residence. But if you have lived, let's say, 3 years out of 4 in Canada, you're eligible to get the Canadian citizenship. People have to for people of certain age, under 65, I think, they have to undergo a test. And if you live in a country, of course, you need to know English. The only exception is perhaps criminal liability in Canada or abroad. Unfortunately, I cannot hear you very well. You're interrupted for some reason. I said if you have lived 3 or 4 years in Canada, most probably you will have no problems getting the Canadian passport. Thank you very much. Can you comment? Can you comment on the terms, on the term of getting citizenship by investment? As I said before, the process is split into 2 stages. Stage 1, you will have to get the permanent resident status, and then stage 2, citizenship. The permanent resident status will depend on the program you will choose, and it might last.
Начиная с получения статуса.
It might last for a year or a year and a half, and then the applicant can initiate the process of applying for the passport after having lived in the country for 3 years. Thank you very much. I have a personal question, if you allow me. As far as I can understand, in case with startups and residence acquisition of residence permits, did I get it right? One doesn't necessarily needs to be the initiator or the founder of a startup. Somebody can be, they can be a, well, if you have no financial capabilities, let's say you have the financial capability, but you don't have the desire to invest. Well, we have the experts that we can get you in contact with experts that can help you develop the project. And how will the experts know about any given project? You need to get in touch with one of the accredited companies from the list of accredited companies, and the company will start thinking of different ways to support you, to help you out. Can we get in touch with you to help us? Of course, that's why I'm here. Thank you very much for your answers, for your presentation. If we have any additional questions as we continue during the conference, and Ina will not be present here, we will provide you with Ina's contact, and you will be able to get in touch with her.